Rahim, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. O Allah, open up the door of wisdom on us. Make our work easy and remove the utterance of my tongue so that people should understand. I'm going to share you some inspirational stuff. This is a story in 1960s. There was one of the doctors. She was a physician. Her name was Elizabeth Cooper, and she was from Austria. And she was being as a doctor, she was working in an emergency ward. And there was the cases which she was been dealing with is majority the cancer patients, the people who are being just almost near to the death experiences. So what that doctor has observed during that time, that while she has been spending a lot of time over there, she has observed that there are different behaviors which the people adopt whenever they get to know some sort of a tragic stories in their life, when they got some tragic moments in their life, when they're on the verge of something which they were least expecting, and suddenly their behaviors change. So what she did whenever she was walking around in the ward, she started keenly looking into the behaviors of the people and started looking into that. And she was surprised that there are some of the people who are being having so much anger. There are some of the people who are being all the time praying. There were some of the people who have been so much silent, it's like stunned. And there were some of the people who have been reframed into a different perspective, and they are being very positive at the end. So that has created a bit of curiosity into herself. And she done a very extensive research. Almost she took an interview of 1,000 of such patients. And then she written a book as well, From Death to Dying. And she has identified some of the interesting pattern, which I'm going to share with you. And this pattern actually comes into our life, that we also experience that with any of the changes which has been happened in our life, which we do not want, and suddenly it has enforced to us, we go through that same process. So what we are going to do today, again, as I mentioned, that please have your pen, pencil, paper available for you, because if you are going to get something today, and this change your whole paradigm shift, I would say this is a great gain. So this is a very interesting stuff we are going to talk about. I'm going to draw a diagram for you, and then I'm going to tell you that whenever any changes happen in ourselves, whether these changes are being happening in our organization, these changes are happening in our personal life, there is a pattern, and that pattern been discovered by doctor, and that is the thing we are going to add on some of my research as well, that how we can actually take the benefit of it. All right, I hope it is something exciting we are going to discuss today. So I'm being super excited and would like to share with you something which we are going to share together. All right, so let's have a look into it. What is the story with me today? So let's have this diagram. You might have seen that on one axis, I have drawn, this is a timeline over here. The other vertical axis, this is an emotional response over here. And then I put that on the lower end, this is a passive state. It's a passive, and on the higher end, this is an active state. All right, it's clear now? Active, passive, and horizontal is a timeline and emotional response. So what was the starting point? The starting point was that for each one of us in our life, there is always certain pattern which we have. This is called our stability standards. You can write it down, our stability standards. So for example, there is always a certain standard which I carry in my mind related to my health. There is certain standard which I carry into my mind related to my job. There is certain standard related to my family life. There is certain standards related to my organization. So there are certain standards which I say it's a stability standards. I'll be feel more happy, more content if these standards which I expect, they are surrounded around. Even there are some sort of standards which we express from some of the behaviors which we expect from our family members or our bosses or our colleagues around. So there are always certain stability standards. All right, does it sound sense? If you reflect on that, there are certain standards. There are certain standards related to my financial life. There are certain standards related to my professional life. So when these standards are being there, they are being intact, I'm happy, I'm okay with that, I'm comfortable, that's my comfort zone. But what happened? What happened? If some change been imposed to me, if something I feel like that I lost the control of it, if something has been given to me which I was not wanting at all, I give you an example. Let's take an example. Every day we use this example that whenever we are being utilizing elevators, right? Every day, quite a normal thing. You just go over there, you push the button, whatsoever the floor you like to just come out, you know you can just do it easily. Have you ever experienced, now let's take that example, how many of you have get that experience of getting stuck inside the elevator? The same elevator, right? Now you are pushing the buttons, you want to go to the 8th floor or 9th floor or 12th floor, but it's not responding. And you feel like suddenly you have lost the control of it, and suddenly you have been surrounded in such, and then the people who are having that sort of a catastrophic phobia, so they have been claustrophobia, so they've been very much terrified as well, because suddenly you feel like you lost control. And when you lost control, what happened? Now you have been, someone else has to take a decision, someone else has to come for your rescue. This is a situation I'm going to tell you that whenever the changes happened in our life, which we are not controlling, we just a little bit go into that mode. Now let's talk about this experience which Elizabeth has found. She found that when people have been given that bad news that they have got cancers, or they have had suddenly they have lost a job or something like that. So what happened? She identified that there is always a curve happened, and the people go into that domain which is called immobility. So they come onto that which is called immobility state. So sometime they got such a news which they were not expecting. Somebody has got a news, all right, you have lost a job. Oh, suddenly they got to know there is some dear one and near one that died. Or someone, they got to discover that news, and doctor said, I'm sorry, you got a cancer. So what happened when suddenly that amount of information come to us, and that is so much we feel like our system just halted. It's just become stunned. We cannot digest this information. We get into the immobilized. We just need time to process this information, because the lot of information, that impactful information which has come to us, which has make us immobility. So we get into the immobility mode. So they said that whenever people are in the immobility mode, because whatsoever they have found, and that is not matching with their standards, and they are immobilized, so they're suddenly stunned over there. They don't know what to do. Now what happened over here, then there is another interesting stuff happened. And that interesting stuff happened is that they actually started now realizing that something has went wrong with them. And what they started doing over there, they get into the denial mode. And that's a natural pattern. If you can. Now, when they are being in the denial mode, what happened? When they stay for a longer period in time, so there is another shift started happening in their life, and they actually started realizing that this thing, why it happened to them, and they go into an anger mode over here. They go into an anger mode. So from denial, initially they were denying that, and then when they say, no, this is a reality and something has really happened to me, and then they say, oh my God, why it has been happened to me? And then they started cussing, and they said, no, this is not possible. I have to make the things back in shape. And now this is an active, if you see, active is an active state. Now in that mode, they are being in active state. They've been trying to change the things around. They would like to move around. They would like to change the thing. They would like to restore back the balance by showing their anger. And this is the thing which they are trying to, their temperament is out of the control. And they say, why? I can't accept that. Now this is the anger mode in which they go over there. Now what happened? This state is a bit of more emotional state, and they will started thinking on, they remain into that, and once they realize that something is not working around, it's not happening, and then they started realizing, oh my God, this news is true, something has really changed. Now when they have come into that part, that something has really been changed, so what happened? Now they started, you might have seen that, it's a very interesting scenario, then the people started bargaining over here. Now they started bargaining. Now to whom they started bargaining? They started bargaining all the things around. So for example, when people get some bad news around, they started begging. Instantly some people become so much religious. And they started praying to Lord, oh Lord, please help me. Please take me out of this fuss. I don't deserve that. Please, Lord, if you will change the things, I will become a good person altogether. I will not do what I used to do over there. Now, that is a sort of a bargaining state. Or sometimes they go around, they try to please with the people around. They try to sort the things around. They try to see, all right, I know I was doing bad thing. I was not deserving that. Please give me a chance. Please do this thing. So they come into the bargaining mode. They try to negotiate. They try to, because the anger they found is not restoring back that balance. And what they are doing, they're trying to change the stuff. They're trying to do something at their end which can bring back the balance. Now what happened? If they realize that even the bargaining is not helping them, so what actually that happened? Now a serious thing happened over here. They found that they have gone into the lowest point, which is called a depression. Now they went into a depression mode over here. They went into the depression mode. Now, one of the things I would like to highlight, some of the things when we say we feel depressed about it, what it is all about, depression is. Now you see, this level, which is my existing scenario, and this standard which I used to have, how much difference it is. Now you see, there's a lot of distance now. Now you can see my existing state, which is actually right now my reality, is totally changed what I used to be. It's a big change. Now because the change is so big, and I have a reality right now, that this situation cannot be bounced back, it cannot be covered back. Whenever I'm having a feeling that it cannot be changed, it cannot be reversed back, I go into a depression state. And that is a difference, my dear friends. Sometimes people say, what is the difference when people are stressed, and what is the difference when when they are stressed and when they are depressed? Answer is very simple. As far as you have, if this is your standard of any of the things in your life, and this is your current reality, and you feel like, and you have a conviction that at any time that standard you are being able to gain, you are in a stressful state. You want to change the things. You are not depressed because you know this is going to be changed. But what happened? If you know this thing which has gone to be, now it's permanently cemented, and I'm not going to change anything about it. The whole scenario has been changed. The whole universe has now been changed. The company has changed for myself. My job has been changed. Anything has been changed. It's not going to be reversed back. What happened? I go into a depression state. Now this is a depression state in which I feel helpless. Now here, that physicist, the doctor has identified a very interesting part. She said that when the people come into that depression mode, again they started having a different paradigms over here. So they got a different paradigms, and this paradigm over here is they started testing. They got a different paradigm. For example, if people, they are being lost a job over here, and they said, all right, fine, I know I can't help it anymore. I know this is not an acceptable situation. But now they started thinking about, they said, all right, if this job is not there, it means that I got more flexibility now. All right, I can do something which I love to do, or I was thinking about such a longer period in time, or at least I have some of my independence with myself. Or some of the people, they said, all right, this is an opportunity for myself. If I got such a serious ailment, now this is a time I can connect my Lord in a more strongest way. Or this is a thing, whatsoever I'm been suffering, I have to go back to the people and to help them so that they should not suffer. So sometimes that paradigm shift that happened in the people, and they started testing those ideas. And if this is a powerful paradigm, I mean to say, this is the thing which can help them to come out of that scenario, and then they are being actually on an acceptance mode. And here, there is a different reality started happening for them. So this acceptance means they are more on the active mode, and they are actually going through that. Now that was a very interesting curve. I hope just quickly recap what is the scenario we have talked about. We started with the stability, which is our standards. Then if some of the bad news, which has moved us to the immobility, then we go into the denial and the highest of that, anger. And then we started bargaining and gone into depression. And then we have a different paradigms for testing, and we go into the acceptance. if you reflect upon that, some of the serious news which we have come across, maybe some of the news which were so intense you have come across, maybe some of the people who have gone through a divorce experiences, or some of the people have got an ailment, or some of the people who have got some of the deaths of near one and dear one, or some of the people who have lost their businesses and job, same intensity, same process, they go through it. Now the point is, this timeline is variable, that how much time it took for the people to come out of that. It varies from person to person. But what I'm going to tell you right now, this is a scenario. Now what I'm going to tell you, what is the way in which we can shorter the time of this process, so that the earliest we get into the active mode, we have been accepting that, we know what the reality is, and we have been putting ourselves into that, it means that we can restore back some of the things, or we can get the benefit out of it. So what is the antidote of it? Number one, it says that whenever you are being on the denial state or an anger state, what is that state is all about? This state is emotional state. Now my question is, whenever the emotions occupied in our mind, are we thinking logical or illogical? Answer is very obvious. We are illogical. We are just thinking about, and our mind is so much creative, and our mind is just creating a lot of stories around that and giving us a lot of things, and this is going to be happen, and it is more exaggerated because our mind is designed to make it protected, and it started highlighting all the things which could be possible, or all the things which could go further bad, and maybe this is the scenario I've been stuck in. So what is the one thing which has to be done over here? What is the antidote over here? The antidote is very, very interesting, which I would like to write it down for you. And that antidote is, over here you have to ask a question. And what is the question you have to ask over here? You have to ask a question: what is the fact? What is the fact? For example, we get to know, oh my God, this is a restructuring happening, or there are some rumors around that we are going to be merged, the company is going to downsize many number of jobs, etc. Now these are the rumors around. If you started asking a question which gives you a depression, and which gives you a lot of frustration as well, and an anger, why people, if you go into that and you ask a question, all right, this is a story I've heard, but what is the fact? What is the fact? And if you started collecting the facts, sometime you know your mind becoming rational, oh, this is not that much bad, but I was thinking around, or this is not that much bad. Now, how many number of experiences we have gone through, and sometime this is a scenario why people, many number of time, they hesitant to go for a medical checkup, although they are perfectly all right. Why they feel hesitant in going there? Because the mind is so creative, and mind exaggerate, and they say, oh, if something bad is going to be diagnosed with that, all right, what is going to be happen? So the point is, if you get to the facts, which is, all right, let's see what are the facts, you get a more, I'm going to say, come out of that over here. Now over here, when the people are into that mode, when they are being in bargaining and depression, my question is, whenever some person is in the depression mode, what they are been looking into that? What exactly is the condition they have been in? Why they have been feeling depressed? For example, if they have lost a job, they have lost health, they have lost somebody, I'm using the word loss. Every time when the depression and stress happen, people are in the lost state of mind. They are in the lost state of mind. That's why they've been depressed. Now my question is, what is the antidote when some person is feeling lost? What is the antidote of it? The answer is very clear, my dear friends. If you utilize a strong attitude of gratitude, if you have a more gratitude over here, this gratitude is about how much of the things which you are already having in your life as a blessing. How many number of things? So if you focus onto that, where the mind focusing on the loss, you look into the thing, you shift the process, and you say, what are the things which I'm already having in my life in abundance? So always remember, our mind cannot hold two contradictory thoughts at the same time. Our mind cannot hold that I'm having a gratitude and I'm having a depression feeling at the same time.